We're gonna go in 5 minutes. You need anything?
No, I'm okay.
You sure?
Yeah. We got a packed house tonight.
Yeah, it's crowded. See you out there.
Go get him, champ. Co-host, 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 co-host. Co-host, 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 co-host. Co-host, 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 co-host. Oh, hey Wade.
Hey,
Yeah, so, ready to do this?
have a seat.
Yeah, sorry, they told me it was, 5 minutes, so, I decided to head on down.
Who? Who told you 5 minutes?
They did, just a couple minutes ago.
Who?
The stagehand.
What stagehand? I don't have stagehand.
Who the hell was I talking to?
Anyway, hi. Welcome to the Criterion Connection. I'm Wade.
And I'm confused. I mean, I'm Scott.
Yes. And we're here to talk about a release that came out this past summer. Martin Scorsese's Raging Bull from 1980.
Which surprised the hell out of me.
This is actually your first
That it was
time
1980.
You revealed to me this is the first time you watch a Martin Scorsese film in its entirety.
Yes.
You've seen clips of like Cape Fear.
I've seen pieces of Cape Fear. I've seen pieces of Last Temptation of Christ. And I've seen like a clip of like Goodfellas. Right, he did Goodfellas.
Yeah, he did. Yes,
He did.
He is well known for doing Goodfellas.
I was gonna say
it's my favorite Scorsese film.
I'm working my way to that kind of stuff. I'm not really big on mob stuff, but you know,
it's the mob movie. People say The Godfather. I think it's more easier to digest than The Godfather is.
Godfather's long as hell.
Yes.
At any rate, surprisingly, as I said, 1980s Raging Bull. I thought this movie was like a early to mid 70s made movie. I knew it took place much earlier than that, but
yes.
I was amazed to find out this movie is only like 9 years older than me. That freaked me out.
Yeah. It's based on the memoir Raging Bull, My Story, which is about the boxer Jake LaMotta.
So it was his real name. These were all real people.
Yes, Jake LaMotta is a real person. Yes.
Okay, obviously liberties
I had to make sure it wasn't like Jake LaMotta.
Okay, I was gonna say, but obviously some liberties were taken because it's a movie.
Yes.
But I didn't know this was until right now. I did not know this was based on a true story.
Yeah, the real Jake LaMotta passed away in 2017.
That's that recent.
Yes,
Interesting.
Yes. And I think Henry Hill died around that time too, which is the character as portrayed in Goodfellas.
Oh, he was a real guy.
Yes, Henry Hill's a real good.
I am learning so much.
Martin Scorsese does a lot of, he doesn't do a lot of. He does a lot of biopics, whatever. He did it for Jake LaMotta, Henry Hill, and Jesus Christ. But yeah, this movie is about boxing.
Not really. It's a movie about a boxer.
It's a movie
to
about...
say it's about... Rocky is about boxing.
Yes.
This is a movie about a guy who just happens to be a boxer.
Yes.
Who, by all intents and purposes, is a piece of trash. He's a trashy guy who thinks he's a better guy than he is.
He's handicapped because he's a man with small hands.
He's got the small hands.
He can never win a big fight.
Yeah. And you've got Jake and you've got Joey, who I've
played by Joe Pesci.
Played by the great Joe Pesci. Who I feel like they're two halves of one person. They still because they have very similar personalities, but you can see that like Joey kind of leans more towards the good side or the lighter side, I should say, whereas Jake kind of leans more to the darker side. And
Joey's more of like thinks with his brain, but
right.
Jake is mostly think with his fists.
Well, right, and also like Jake is kind of unfaithful and is kind of a creep and kind of a sleaze bag. at times. Whereas Joey, you know, like he's a little more class, a little more dignified. He
Well,
tried, for the most part.
he did take out a girl that was not his wife to the Copa.
Wait, which one?
Joe Pesci.
I
Joey
mean,
did.
I mean,
So I'm not bringing her. I'm bringing someone else.
but I'm saying, but like,
they're also not great with women.
No, but at least like, you know, they both went on to have like a wife and kids, but let's just say one did it better than the other.
Yeah. Though he can't teach his son to keep his fingers off the plate.
No. But like it, you know, like you start off with like, you know, Jake. He's kind of like, you know, he's a good fighter who just hasn't gotten his shot.
Yeah.
And you know that's all he wants. He wants his shot at the title. And you know his life is kind of in shambles. You know he has a decent looking apartment. Clearly things with his wife are not on good terms. She makes him this really nice looking delicious steak. Like I'm looking at this steak from 1980 and I'm thinking I would like to eat that steak.
Well, technically that steak is from 1941.
But I'm talking about in real life,
in the real world. Okay.
And she makes him this nice steak. And he has an argument with her about how she cooked it. It looked fine to me. And she puts it down. And he flips the table. He doesn't even eat the steak. I mean, my God, I'll eat an overcooked steak over no steak. His priority, just like the rest of the movie, his priorities are not always in the right order.
He is, it's one of those things like, and it's a big testament for Robert De Niro. Bob De Niro.
Bobby De Niro.
Yeah, where it's a real this character is a real testament. It is what a lot of movies try to do of the flawed character that you kind of deep down root for, but he has bad, toxic, self-destructive tendencies.
He's the lovable sleazebag.
Yeah.
And I think that's why this movie works the way it does.
He's a true underdog.
Yeah, I think this movie works the way it does, as good as it does, not just because of the cast, but the casting of Robert De Niro. I think only he could have done it in that way, in that time, that style. Every single person. This is a very well casted movie.
Yes.
And I think everybody just fits their part so good that they don't even feel like actors at times. You kind of forget that's Joe Pesci. Yeah. You're looking at Joey LaMotta. You forget that's Robert De Niro. That's Jake LaMotta. You know what I mean?
Forget Frank Vincent is whatever the one guy that Joe Pesci beats up with the Coca-Cola.
Yeah, like
the gangster kind of character.
Yeah, they feel like regular people.
Yes,
they don't feel like actors playing the people, and I think that the setting and the sets really help give it a more intimate vibe at times. Nothing feels huge. Even the boxing matches, nothing feels too huge or too vast. And I think that's something nowadays that I think is to the detriment of a lot of movies, not all, but a lot. And I think this one really took advantage of it because it feels like you're watching an old movie from like the 40s or 50s that got lost, and somebody in 1980 found this thing.
It has a real authenticity to it.
It does.
And I love the boxing scenes because a lot of people think when you think boxing, you think Rocky.
Yes.
You think, I'll use an example of the recent Creed movies where like it's really, the boxing has such choreography, but Martin Scorsese's like, you know, we're not going to worry about that. We're going to tell the fight in the emotion sense.
Right.
Like it's really close up and cinematic. It's very cinematic, especially the last fight with Sugar Ray Robinson, where like he's just against the ropes and then Sugar Ray just unloads on him because in the end he is a man that is a glutton for punishment, and I think he gets off on it. I think he has like gets off, more like he gets a relief.
He enjoys it. He gets a sense of like of joy from it, not necessarily from getting hurt, but just being in the fight.
It's because emotionally his life is in shambles, or it's a chaotic disaster in the ring. Him getting punched is like a kind of therapeutic thing for him.
It's almost like everything else could leave, but it's almost like he knows he'll always have boxing.
Yeah, at
least at that time, because you know everyone knows you don't have it forever. My only real nitpick on the movie is the boxing. I'm not saying it wasn't well done. And again, maybe I went into this okay, after the first fight, I was like, okay, I know Rocky spoiled me as far as the fighting goes, so I know what I'm getting, and I went with it, and I still liked it. But there are a few moments where like I don't think Martin Scorsese knows how boxing works as far as violence. So there's a lot of moments where like there will be moments where like someone gets punched and like they get cut. But when they punch them, it's like they got stabbed or they got shot or something, and the blood squirts out. And I don't think that's how it would work. I'm pretty sure
it isn't.
I'm pretty sure it would like flow down, and like maybe some of it would spritz up with a punch.
I think that's what I meant by he makes the boxing cinematic to where it's kind of surrealistic. It's kind of like it's not realistic. It's about the emotions. So when the blood spurts, it's not just oh, it's a little blood. It's like part of the emotion of the scene where just explosion, like the guy's nose blows up pretty much.
Oh my god, no! when he punches the guy in the nose and breaks it, like the way it shifts, I was like, oh my god, what the?
It basically is. It's basically over amplifying what this scenario. It's basically adding gasoline to the fire.
Right.
Especially in the Sugar Ray fight where blood just gushes all over the people in the crowd.
Pretty sure he would have bled out by the time he got to the back.
It's a movie that has tense. It's very tense at times.
Very tense. Oh my god,
Near
dude.
the end, when it basically Jake is unhinged and paranoid. Basically, it's the rise and fall of a boxer that's just trying to get out of mediocrity.
Right.
By any means necessary, whether it be like he can't have sex, so he has to like pour ice cold water down his pants because he has to stay focused to be the champ. You gotta be the champ. He doesn't want to be a contender. He wants to be the champ.
Right. And he's always worried about like what his wife's doing. It's like she's not doing anything. Like he was kind of like that about his first wife too. But like with Vicky, it's even worse. And he's, like I said, like he's not like he's so like
he's also very emotionally insecure.
Very.
And that's why I think because he's always been like the underdog, he's always been fighting. He doesn't understand that no, this is safe. You're safe. He always thinks that it's like it's a real character study kind of movie where you're like there's so much depth into Jake LaMotta as in this movie that like it's like an onion. You just keep kind of finding new layers. Like what is his childhood like? I know there was more to his story. I think there was supposed to be a sequel, according to Wikipedia. I know about that, but like I'm curious on what his childhood was like. What could have brought him to be this insecure to where Joey's not like that?
And not only that, but you also got to factor in the one variable that he has over most of the other characters in the movie. He's a boxer. He's a fighter. Like that's a different mentality than someone who's just like, in their corner or someone who's just watching, It's one thing to see it, but to be the one who gets in there, beat up. Who knows? Maybe some of that paranoia is brain damage. Who's to say some of that paranoia is CTE, in hindsight. Who's to say some of it isn't, again, that feeling of this could all be gone, just like that. Like there's a lot of things that don't really get touched on that you can kind of put your own spin on.
Dude's also not
put
eating.
yourself. Oh, he was eating all right.
Yeah.
He was eating that big sandwich while they're trying to fix the TV.
There was a great, big sandwich. Like also the great stuff of like the makeup on him, like from the boxing to even like like when he's older
and he's all bloated and like all his injuries, like all his his nose is a lot thicker than what it was, and everything's thicker.
The cinematography, the cinematography is intimate, as you said, but also it also feels grand in its own sense. It's not like
the music really helps with that.
The music, great score.
You could call it a Martin Scorsese.
So
sorry.
It's just so many great things about it, and to me, it's like a stepping stone. It's the fact this movie is a stepping stone for Martin Scorsese's future projects.
Right,
says a lot because this movie is a classic.
Right. The only thing I would say going forward, I'm obviously a nitpick, but this is something for like if you're like someone who's like younger and you're getting into these kinds of movies. You definitely want to be ready. There's a lot of F slur in this movie.
Yeah. There's
I know it's
warnings.
right. I know it was that time, it was that place, what have you. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying, it's not something that I would say, don't watch the movie because it's there. It's there, but it's not a big deal. But it's definitely
it's a product of its time.
Right. Like, it's one of those things where don't let it deter you, but also don't be surprised. That's one of the things.
Also,
that's one of the reasons why we're doing reviews like reviews like this.
Our bigger trigger warning is there is domestic abuse.
Domestic abuse, yes.
There's abuse everywhere in this film, and just be warned if you that's a trigger for you.
Right. I just wanted to get that one out there particularly because, I know some people can look at like physical stuff and, while they don't condone it, they still understand. But like when it's stuff like that, I know some people are like, well, why would that be in the movie? It's like, nowadays, I don't think if you made Raging Bull today, I don't think that would have been in there. If you had the same cast, everything, the same age, whatever, but you did it now, I don't think I don't think it would be in there today. I don't think Scorsese has that in him anymore.
Yeah.
Not that I think he, it was just the time.
Product of the times.
Time.
So Scott, would you recommend this film?
I would absolutely recommend this film. I would say this is one of those movies that it's so good that not only do I think to myself, this is so good, this should win awards. It probably did.
It did. De Niro won Best Actor.
Good. He deserved it.
Got the Oscar.
But it's also one of those movies that I would watch again. Like, I legitimately enjoyed it. It wasn't just, oh, this is a nice Oscar movie. Like, it ticks all the boxes that an Oscar movie should have. It's actually an enjoyable movie. It's I wouldn't say it's fun to watch, but it's very interesting to watch. It's enjoyable to watch, even in its dark times, because you kind of, when the characters are good, you're with them, and then when they're hitting those like darker moments, you kind of feel a little better than them, and that's all right.
Or they hit a certain dark moment, you feel bad for him, like when he had to throw the fight, and it cuts straight to him crying in his coach's on his coach's shoulder, like stuff like that. You feel bad for him, but you're also like, he's also a powder keg that can explode. I'd also recommend it. I'm a big Martin Scorsese fan. I like most of his movies. There's some movies I don't really like as much, but this movie is one of the it's just classic. It's a classic movie. It's in the AFI Top 100 films, I believe, and it totally deserves to be there for everything that we've listed in this whole review. So yeah, that's our thoughts on Raging Bull, and they do say the name. There is a title drop, Raging Bull.
By the way, don't forget to follow Title Drop on Instagram. My wife and I would be very, very appreciative of that.
And also on Instagram is Condish Productions, where you can follow them there. Or if you're just a big fan on YouTube, just like, subscribe, and share. Share this video, share the channel to all your friends, family, whatever.
Also, support Meteor King. MeteorKing.bandcamp.com.
Yeah. So, until next time, I'm Wade.
And I'm Scott.
And we will see you later.
Close.